ruling in the European Court of Justice last year means that employers are only required to pay the rate in the country from which the foreign workers come, as long as this matches minimum wages and conditions in the host country. So in the case of the disputed contract at the Lindsey oil refinery, British workers there claim that they are being undercut by cheaper foreign labour.
Thanks for that, Anita. And we've now got two Lords of Leaping in the Daily Politics, two for the price of one. We're joined now by the former Tory, now UKIP peer, Malcolm Pearson, and thrown in at no extra cost from the European Parliament in Strasbourg, the Labour MEP, Richard Corbett. Welcome to both of you. Of course, Robert Winston's still with us. The Prime Minister, Malcolm Pearson, says that, quote, an unofficial strike is counterproductive and the matter can be solved by discussion and negotiation. Is he right?
No, of course he's not right. I think it is worth, just for a moment, examining how powerless the British government is in this situation. And to do that, we really have to look very briefly at the big idea which set the European Union in train. And that idea was that the nation-states, which had been responsible for 2 world wars and much carnage in Europe over the centuries, those nation-states had to be emasculated and diluted into a new form of government run by technocrats. And that is why, that is the deep reason why the British government and the British people who vote for them are powerless in this matter. Because these powers have passed to Brussels.
Except that we, the British, have the right to work in the European Union, and people in the European Union have the right to work here. So what's wrong with that?
Well, what's wrong with that is that it isn't so easy for British workers to go and work in the European Union. If you look at page 11 of the Daily Mail today, you will see an admirable chart which compares the pay rates in places like Poland and even Italy and France. They're nothing like what our people would get here.
You go to continental Europe today and get paid in euros, you'll be pretty well off.
Not
particularly when you bring it back to here.
And anyway, you've got a language problem. And anyway, why should our people have to go and do that? Why can't the British government, if what it wants is to have British jobs for British workers, why can't the British government enforce that? And the answer to that is you cannot do it while you remain in the European Union.
What we should not do, though, is claim that only British companies should have been able to tender for that contract. Because if we do that, we're basically saying to the 2 million British people who work in other European countries, pack your bags and come home.
Well, I'm not sure your figure is right about the number of people working in other European countries. The number who live in other European countries from Britain is one thing. The number who work is another. But if we wait for your time... No, Mr. Corbett, hold on a minute. If we wait for you to change a European directive and overturn 2 European court rulings, these workers will be out of job for the rest of the winter, most of the summer, and next winter too. What is the evidence that this company has discriminated against British workers? According to Peter Mandelson, most of the people who work in this refinery, Malcolm Pearson, are British.
Well, of course, Peter Mandelson suffers from a deeper conflict in all this.
Yeah, but never mind that. What's the answer to my question?
Well, the answer is he would, wouldn't he?
But the evidence is that there are a majority of British workers in this oil refinery.
Yeah, but nevertheless, I don't know how many hundreds there are of others. And it is clear that British workers are being disadvantaged by this situation and elsewhere.
How is it clear?
Well, because they are not getting the jobs that they would otherwise get.
Yeah,
and if you call that protectionism, then that should be brought in by a British government supported by a British electorate. Okay. What has gone wrong here is we've handed the whole thing over to some corrupt bureaucrats in Brussels.
Right. Robert Corbett, do you think that this Gordon Brown phrase, British jobs for British workers, was just a meaningless soundbite? Almost xenophobic? Language of the BNP?
No, it means making sure that British workers are equipped, trained enough, and are not discriminated against in seeking employment opportunities wherever they are.
That's not what he said to the Labour Party conference. He said British jobs for British workers.
Yes, and I'm telling you what that means. It means making sure British workers are able to access the jobs, apply for jobs, and get the jobs when they get available.
Mr. Corbett, we were at the Labour Party conference and he said that. He never said any of that. He never said any of that, Mr. Corbett.
I was there as well. But if you look at what that can mean in practice, if you look how you achieve that, that is how you achieve it. Make sure British workers are able to access such jobs and not be discriminated against, as European law provides.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Mr. Corbett in Brussels, Malcolm Pearson in London, thank you for joining us.
find out more about who we are and what we stand for, go to the UK Independence Party website at www.ukip.org.